Hi, this is Kevin Johnson with Fortitude Technology out in San Diego, California. First off, I'd like to thank you guys all for taking the time to attend this online presentation. We know it's a big commitment to take time out of your day, and we really do appreciate it. Second thing is I'd like to give you a few of the topics that we're going to talk about today. First thing on the board is what is cloud hosting? Second piece of it will be benefits that come along with cloud computing. Third thing we're going to talk about are some of the pitfalls to avoid when choosing a cloud hosting provider. And then we're going to talk about that all-important partnership with our friends over at XO Communications. First thing I probably should do is give you a little description of Fortitude Technology. We're an enterprise cloud hosting provider, and we are based in San Diego with additional sites out in Las Vegas. One of the things that we want to make sure that we cover today is what is enterprise cloud hosting. And in our minds, that is hardened infrastructure so that way you have an always-on environment and have the ability to run your business regardless of what's happening out in the rest of the world. To get started and to maybe make it a little easier to understand what's going on in cloud hosting and cloud computing, we put together a little educational video that demonstrates the value of utilizing the cloud for your computing needs. So without further ado, let's listen and watch to the story of Roy and Frank and how they go about their daily lives running their businesses.
Did you know that 70% of companies that suffer from major data loss go out of business permanently? That's one of the many reasons why cloud hosting is all the rage now. But what is cloud hosting and why is it better? Let's take a look at these two stores for a better explanation. This is Roy's furniture store. It's located right next to Frank's furniture store. Both are located on Furniture Row. Both have been in business for about 15 years. And both generate a lot of income and have loyal customers. Roy's keeps great records of all its customer and inventory data. It also ranks high in the search engines and has a great website. It's the main reason it's been successful for so long. Frank's also does an excellent job of organizing its data and effectively marketing to its customers both online and offline. Roy's backs up all of its data from its premise-based server, which is a physical piece of equipment housed inside the store. The website, inventory, purchasing history, and customer data are critical to Roy's success. Frank's also backs up their data. However, their important business data is housed on a virtual server in the cloud. This allows Frank's to have a custom server configuration, enterprise-grade power, cooling, communication and security, and even system monitoring. His data is regularly backed up and even replicated to a second site. There's no premise-based equipment, and the fact that Frank loves to travel, he can access his critical business data from anywhere in the world. Unfortunately, Furniture Row experienced a power outage which caused Roy's website, ERP, and POS systems to go offline. Frank's site was still being hosted virtually and was in no threat of shutting down. Within one day, the power returned and Roy's and Frank's were back in business. Luckily, Frank's still collected online sales from the website, had access to inventory information, and was able to deliver goods to its customers, while Roy's suffered a day's loss in sales and new customer data. Coincidentally, the very next evening after closing, there was a leak in the bathroom at Frank's, and the store began to flood. Because Roy's store is right next to Frank's, the leak flooded Roy's store as well. Frank and Roy now have a big flood and many repairs to deal with. As a result of the flood, Roy's premise-based server was destroyed. All of Roy's information has been collected and stored for 15 years, and it's now been lost, gone forever, never to be had again. Roy and his business were left standing in deep water, up a creek without a paddle. Not so with Frank. Frank's data, software, and key systems were being hosted in the cloud with Fortitude Technology. So, come flood, earthquake, disgruntled employee, power outages, or a stampede of wild elephants, Frank's information is still protected with Fortitude Technology. Frank knows his critical business data will never ever be lost. Whether he's in Africa on a safari or running with the bulls in Spain, Frank has peace of mind that his critical business data is safe. 1 year later, Frank's business is thriving. His insurance covered the repairs and loss of inventory, and he was able to successfully reopen to his loyal customers. Roy's, however, went out of business, displacing Roy and his employees. Despite the store renovation and product replacement, the loss of customer information and purchasing data proved to be very destructive and difficult to rebuild. Fortitude Technology gives you the protection of cloud hosting for your vital daily business operations. It's easy to get started and less expensive to run because you don't need to pay for all the equipment and facilities to run them. And you can put your IT employees on business-enhancing activities. With cloud hosting, you just log in, customize, and start using it. At Fortitude Technology, we take your premise-based data, wherever it currently lives, and put it on the equipment that lives in the cloud. Safe, where it can't get out, and no one else can get to it but you.
You guys like that? That's pretty good, huh? I know a lot of you can relate to the story of Roy and Frank, and if you think about it, it's the perfect example of what can happen to anyone if you're not using the cloud, and I think that came through loud and clear on that one. We all know in our hearts that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, and with what we supply here at Fortitude, we give you that opportunity to avoid situations like that. Every geography that you're out there has a hidden underlying disaster, and those are waiting to reach up and grab you at any moment in time. So we just want to make sure that everybody's prepared, and that's really what we're talking about today is preparedness. It's not just for that disaster, but it's the pitfalls to avoid when you actually do make that decision to do the right thing and move out into the cloud and come up with your network provider that's going to get you to the cloud and that hosting provider that's going to deliver the cloud to you. So now we're at the meat and the potatoes of the presentation, and it's really the pitfalls to avoid, the key elements to have when you're choosing that hosting provider or that cloud computing provider. So the things to avoid or the companies to avoid when you're working through this one, unless it's just, hey, you know what, this absolutely fits my budget and I'm willing to take the risks that go along with it. So non-enterprise hosting companies, the guys that do not have redundant power, do not have redundant cooling, communications are suspect, and when I talk about this one, they don't have providers like XO Communication that are dropping circuits and have ongoing relationships with a hosting company. There's hidden costs that are out there. They're charging you for things like bandwidth to go between servers that are at the hosted location, or bandwidth to go between a server that's at your premise-based location and back out to the cloud. How about backups? Who's paying for those? And if you're backing it up off-site, are you paying for that bandwidth to run that backup out there? Compliance, the SAS 70, SSE 16 certificates that are out there. These are the things that ensure that the hosting provider is actually following the rules that they put in place to run their data center on. And then they actually have an auditor come through and make sure that they've got security in place, that they're following the procedures and processes they put in place. Single location hosting companies, usually the guys that have one place, they're probably great for hosting your website, but if you need to make sure that you have an always-on environment and you need multiple locations, the ability to have your primary location and your business continuity site, you want to run with somebody that's got more than one location. How about the guy that's providing hardware that's not highly available? Doesn't have the redundancy? What happens if you lose a power supply in a server, or what happens if you lose a disk drive in that server? You want to make sure that you're running with a company that's got a SAN and it's fully available with multiple connections back into the multiple switches on down that line. The things that you need to make sure that you've got in a company, you want to make sure that all those things that were in the avoids you've addressed and those are included. And then you got to have the essential needed components: biometric scanning, 7/24 365 monitoring, the security levels and access validation. Make sure that the data center has video recording and movement tracking. The other thing, and probably the most important thing, not probably, it is the most important thing, it's that quality of service. You can have the world's greatest servers, but at the end of the day, if the people that you're dealing with are not of a high quality and don't have the ability to resolve your problems, you want to step away from that. So you go with a company that you trust, you go with a company that provides excellent service, has references that go along with that, and you're going to be rock solid. So on to the next slide here. And at the risk of making it sound like too much of a commercial for XO and Fortitude, I'm going to just spend a couple of seconds on this one. And the key takeaway from this is that XO provides enterprise communication, Fortitude provides enterprise hosting, and with the relationship between the two companies, we're going to provide a great experience for you, the end consumer. As we start to wrap up here, I just want to make sure that you took away a couple of things. That number one, the cloud is a great place to run your business. Make sure that you do the due diligence and go through the steps to find the right cloud computing provider for your business. Also, the other key concept is partner with the best. And if you think about it, XO Communications, Fortitude Technology, two of the best in the industry. It's a great idea to hook up with this. Like I started off with today, I want to thank you guys for your time. I really do appreciate it, and we look forward to hearing from you soon. Thank you very much. Have a great day.